So as I do this video, the Hawks are up 24 points in the fourth quarter, and look, Julius Randle, he's been the driving force of the Knicks this season, and it's not as if he's the only reason why the Knicks are currently down 3-1. I mean, they still have not slowed down Trae Young at all. But still, man, the Hawks, they have just totally freaked out Julius Randle in this series. You know, in this game, I mean, he ends up with 7 assists, 17 points. Like, I guess this is the best game he's had this series. But he also had some travels, some offensive fouls, and he didn't shoot well from the field again. Overall, I think it was still a negative game for Randle, and the biggest thing is they're just still throwing the double teams at him. And I think they're mainly able to do it because the Knicks are constantly putting a center out there who can only finish around the basket. Or they'll leave the guy who's in the opposite corner or whatever, and the Knicks just can't get it to the open guys fast enough. But the other thing, too, is there have been some possessions where Randle has not gotten the double-team treatment, and there was one where he had Collins in a one-on-one, and he chose to fade away on him. He had a contested three over Gallo, which did go in, but it just seems like he's jump shot first right now. I'm not sure Tibbs is going to go to Randle at the 5 that much, but that could be the only way to solve this. I mean, the other thing I talked about after Game 2 was maybe you just have Randle setting more screens that allow him to get downhill rather than him having to create it initially. Maybe it's him in the post. They're still going to bring the double, but maybe it's a little easier to make a play out of that rather than them doubling you from the perimeter. I don't know. Something has to be different, and the fact that it's 3-1 now and they've just been kind of rolling with the same thing is just sort of weird. I mean, maybe this is the full Thibodeau experience where it's the instant improvement, but then when he goes up against a team that can game plan against him and against a good coach, he just kind of is like, well, we're just going to keep doing what we do, and, well, here you go. On the other side of things, I mean, a lot of the Hawks' offense, to me, has been taking advantage of the Knicks just missing stuff or turning the ball over or all that. But the other thing is, of course, they just haven't stopped Trae Young at all. I mean, whether it's trapping or putting somebody bigger on him, nothing seems to be working. I don't even know if they've brought that many double teams on Trae, to be honest. It didn't seem like it a lot. It seemed like he was able to pretty much do whatever he wanted to do in this game. I mean, there were times when he just went to the pullback 3, and he was looking really comfortable there. And I feel like the Hawks have been able to expose one problem with the Knicks, which was, yeah, they were a really good defensive team, but they don't have a great on-ball defender. At least one around Trae's size. And so it's like, yeah, as long as you can space out the floor, have one guy around the basket, and just assume that Trae can keep on beating the guys you put in front of him, which, whether it's Bullock or Derrick Rose or Quickly or whoever, he's going to give you a lot of problems. And, of course, he can make any sort of pass out there. So it's just been too easy. It's been way too easy for him. And then you just throw in the shooting from Bogdan and Herter and Lou Will, although I don't think he was as great in this game. Gallo, even if he's been up and down this series. And also just, getting John Collins more involved in the offense. He also made a 3. He had one play where he took it himself off the dribble. And that's pretty much the story of the series. As far as ways for the Knicks to actually come back, I mean, besides just benefit from going to Madison Square Garden for a Game 5, they just got to figure these two things out, man. They got to figure out their star, and they got to figure out the Hawks star. And maybe it's just going at Trae Young all the time when the Hawks are, or when the Knicks are on offense. But if they just go out there with the same thing, where it's just big guy who can't shoot next to Julius Randle, and then Randle trying to create in his ISOs and all that, and thinking about those contested jumpers that he made all season, and then not attacking Trae Young, then the same thing's going to happen again. I mean, maybe they just get fortunate with shooting or lucky that the Hawks missed some threes, but Atlanta's just looked like the better team. I mean, the Knicks, they basically stole Game 1 at home, and a lot of that was when Trae Young was not in the game, if we're being honest. And besides that, Atlanta has just looked like the better team by far in this series. And I think the other thing that's happening in this series is it's showing that the Knicks, obviously they could use a big guy who could do a little more than just stuff around the rim. But I also think they could just use more shooting in general. I know RJ has made improvements to his three, but they just have moments where their offense looks really bad, and it's just a lot of like, what do we do right now? And if they had one guy who the defense really had to stay glued to, who could move around, I think it could open up some things for them. And, well, they have a lot of cap space, and Duncan Robinson is a free agent, so we'll see if they want to go that route. But yeah, man, the series is not over yet, but the Knicks are going to have to do some different things, or we're going to be out of here and at the most 6. Like, maybe they could still win Game 5 in MSG and just have a couple of crazy runs and all that, but yeah, it's looking like Atlanta's series.